Our mask policy has been that you get a mask break on the direction and the guidance of the adult in the room. Now, again, my 35 years experience tells me that if I said to everybody, have a mask break at 10 o'clock, some classes are out in gym and they don't need a mask break because they're 12 feet apart. Okay? You know, what I'd like to continue is, the mask policy is masks must be worn, and they're going to be worn more now if we're all going to be in close quarters, or I should say closer quarters. You know, class sizes will be approximately 18 to 21 students. If your child is struggling with their mask, I would suggest you contact the teacher, social worker, guidance counselor, and we'll work this out on an individual basis. Okay? I don't think we can come up, and like I said, I've been told several districts had great plans, and I read them, and they really were not definitive plans. They look nice, well written, but masks need to be treated, and we need to treat our children as individuals. Okay, I've been in the buildings enough to see. I think, by the way, the kids are doing a great job wearing their masks. Also, and this this will come out in writing next week. Since we are going back and the class sizes are 18 to 21 as opposed to where we were in the summer, we are within Department of Health guidelines. There may be some people that want more people, because we did have a number opt out to virtual at the elementary. We will reopen that window for a short period of time if parents are not comfortable. But we are going to need, again, some patience on this, because it may require us adding additional staff if elementary students or elementary parents are not comfortable with sending their children back. You know, we didn't need to be directed by the governor to say we're going to try to make this work for everybody. So I repeat, you will be given a window of opportunity to opt into virtual at the elementary level. I think I'm going to have to ad-lib a little bit on this one, because this was going to be discussed in new business, but the board has, as a group, we have rendered a decision. Details are not final, but we are looking to roll out a plan next week that will have all our students at the secondary level back in school by the beginning of December. Now, I ask you again, we've begun conversation about this, and we also know that at the secondary level, we began live streaming, and students that are not comfortable, or families that are not comfortable, as we look to go back full in, they have the option to go, they will have the option to go fully virtual. I think the statement we're here to make tonight is that, a hybrid has been a wonderful experiment that has led to a tremendous amount of frustration. And what we're saying is our students are either going to come to school, or we're going to provide them with a virtual education. And I would like to address the gap that people talk about all the time. Elite schools are one-to-one computer device districts. Last year at this time, at the meeting in October, we were discussing having a 3 to 5 year plan to become a one-to-one computer district. We weren't the slowest, but we weren't the best. But when you look at the elite school districts on Long Island, many of them have been one-to-one districts for several years. We have most of the devices that we need right now. The Chromebooks for kindergarten and 5th grade have not arrived yet. And I will say this, that Mr. Harrison, Mr. Manzo, and Dr. Bells and their support staff are working feverishly to get them. But again, 7 months ago, a year ago, we were talking about a 5-year plan to have these devices. We will have one-to-one devices in the next. We have 11 of the 13 grades covered. In that rollout plan, we would have been able to, in an orderly fashion, help our teachers and guide our teachers and give them the professional support they would need. Look, I applaud the board, because what they did was that we saw an opportunity to get the devices. And so again, I'm going to say to everyone, it may take a little bit of time for our skill set to catch up with the technology. But if we are engaging our students in a more modern world with the one-to-one devices, the quality of education will improve, and that will go a long way to closing any gaps that we have. So at this point, with a special thank you to all who volunteered to help our technology director, Mr. Rich Z, and a special thanks to the technology department. We've been rolling these computers out at a quicker rate than we thought we would be able to. Mr. Z got a number of the staff to volunteer to help him. Because of all of you, the district has become is becoming a one-to-one device district in several short months. This is an accomplishment to be very proud of and will help to facilitate learning. I truly believe that these devices will help engage our students in deeper learning through modalities that this generation is more comfortable with, and they will allow us to close whatever learning gap that may occur due to the COVID interruption. And once again, I reiterate, last year we talked about a 5-year plan to become a one-to-one learning community. We will have the devices in approximately from start to finish in 7 months. I implore you to be patient as our students and professional staff learn how to work together using these devices. My pledge to you is I will be as supportive as possible and as positive as possible so everyone can learn how to learn together. I'll recap and then I'll finish up. Guys, again, to recap, the elementaries will be back November 9th. We are looking to have all our students back sometime early in December. It's going to be rolled in a staggered fashion. Details will come next week. And again, the one-to-one computers, we are still anxiously awaiting or looking for alternatives to get the K-5s in, but 11 of the 13 grades are in and are being handed out. And again, I keep reminding everyone, even though we've been faced with some major challenges, we have continued to push forward. And I want to remind everybody, and I'll use myself as an example. I had some tough days the last couple of months, because everything that I personally enjoy has been turned upside down, or professionally enjoy has been turned upside down. And as someone very eloquently said to me, hey John, what happened to that happy guy that used to come to work every day? And I was letting this get to me. If we talk about this gap like it's insurmountable in front of our kids, hey, if I was a student sitting in class and my parents and my teachers were saying there's a gap, I wouldn't do my homework. I'd go out and play because, hey, it's the gap, it's not me. Challenges, life is difficult. And we are going to make this work, and we are going to come out of this stronger, and I'll get back to you with news about Election Day and a little test on Election Day, but now it's time for the auditors. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dolan. We're going to turn the meeting over to, if you can, Marianne, introduce yourself. Marianne, if you can introduce yourself.
Hello, this is Marianne Van Dyne. I'm here to present the audit report. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I wanted to thank the board for inviting me to present the results of our audits. We did conduct 2 audits this year, and we met with the audit committee a couple of weeks ago and all the audits in detail. And I have positive results. Once again, you received an unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion you could get as a school district. The books were in excellent shape, and I wanted to thank Steve Harrison, Maria Braybender, Terry Farrow, and the rest of the business office for really working very hard. Considering the pandemic, we all worked together and tried to get everything done, and I think it was a great teamwork. And we had no problems of giving you that clean opinion. The books were in excellent shape. This year, you did have savings due to the school closure. So this year, you did have a positive financial fund balance this year. However, as we all know, that there is going to be some pending state aid cuts and some additional expenses that will have to be dealt with in the upcoming year. So for the most part, most of our districts did have a positive year this year, similar to your district. So you did have an increase in your fund balance, and you maintained the 4% unassigned fund balance, which is really important for any unforeseen expenses or state aid shortfalls. Is really a savings account that will help you in the upcoming year. In addition to giving you an opinion on the financial statements, we also do look at your internal controls. And we did note that the prior year recommendations, all the prior year recommendations were implemented or partially implemented. So we really felt the district is very proactive in implementing our recommendations. They take our audits very seriously. This year, we had 2 minor recommendations. There was no material weaknesses or issues that we felt significant with the internal controls. And the 2 areas had to do with fund balance in the school lunch program, as well as there was some extra classroom findings. But I do have to say you did much better this year with the extra classroom. You improved from the prior year. So all in all, I felt the internal controls are very strong. Couple of recommendations, but nothing that really we're very concerned about. And I know that Steve and his team are already trying to implement the changes to the recommendations that we did put in the management letter. So all in all, great results this year. Thanks again for all the hard work that the business office did to get the audit to a great position. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
There's no questions on the board at this time, but thank you so much for your work on this.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me.
And we were very happy to see the financial reports when we received them, so thank you. Steve would actually just like to address you.
Okay.
I think for me it's fine. I'd just like to extend my thanks to the firm of R.S. Abrams, run by Mary Ann Van Dyne. It was a very collegial audit. We worked well together. They have automated a large part of their process, which made it much easier to work with them and get data to them that they request on an annual basis. And also, certainly, Maria Braybender, our district treasurer, is in the audience. I wanted to extend thank you very much. I want to extend the gratitude to her. Her role has changed quite a bit based upon requirements from New York State to do a lot of reporting. And of this past year, Maria has been very instrumental in conducting those reports for transparency purposes. So the audit, which she's very experienced with, was one of her other responsibilities, and she handled all that flawlessly, as did the rest of the business office staff. So thanks again. Appreciate the efforts.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Harrison and Maria and your entire team, the audit committee, the volunteers. Thank you very much for your work on this, and to R.S. Abrams for the work that they did. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just would echo Mr. Zachary's comments about the audit committee. It's a very, again, collegial committee. We meet. It's a lot of added responsibility to their plate to review the audit with us and the auditors. So I appreciate their response as well. And tonight on the agenda is their recommendation to the board to accept the audit as provided by R.S. Abrams.
Great, thank you. And then that will be available on the district website after we approve it?
Yes.
Correct, okay. I think we're fine then. We can end that portion with the auditor? Yeah, we're done with this portion, but we want to keep the Zoom live for the community, right? Oh, it's separate. Okay, good. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you again. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to resume the superintendent's report, Mr. Dolan. I apologize.
No, that's, listen, and I'd like to thank everyone, involved with the audit committee, but also I think it's a good thing, because I know sometimes people look at us and think that we actually can just make decisions based on what we think is right. No, we have people who are very competent and who are there to make sure that we don't veer off course. And that's why the auditors, as Mr. Harrison noted, very professional, but also, all of our departments get looked at, we're overseen, and, it helps to keep us sharp and hope we make the best decisions possible. Now, moving ahead, we just announced that we're looking to get all our students back by the beginning of December. With that in mind, I'd like to remind everybody that the world could change on a dime. So I did put today in my message to you that Mondays will remain virtual for the secondary, because it is helpful to, it gives our teachers a chance to collaborate and work on some of the skills that are needed. It is commonplace across Long Island that school districts are doing this. So the Mondays for the secondary will remain virtual. Monday the 2nd will be a virtual day across the board, because, and this was brought up at the last meeting, and I had to tap dance a little bit because the computers had not arrived. So, but Election Day is going to be a day of instruction, but it's going to be a full virtual day of instruction. Students will stay home. They will log on, and next week you will be receiving at the elementary level. We have started our full virtual classes. The virtual day at the elementary school that you knew last spring will be a thing of the past, and the secondary folks will be logging on to live stream, because if we have to, if we're forced to close due to COVID-19 or an executive order, and again, I know it sounds ironic, but we have to be prepared for all emergencies. The elementary teachers will provide a new virtual day schedule. It will be pushed out next week through the elementary buildings, the principals and the teachers, and it'll be the new schedule. If we are forced to close for a day or a week, or again. And the secondary students will be following live stream, but the Election Day is a virtual day of instruction, and it gives us a chance to test our system, because as you're seeing, and I know it's confusing to the public, but schools are being closed for a day, a week, 2 weeks. They're having cases of corona and not closing at all. The Department of Health makes that determination, and then we have to implement whatever process or whatever plan they tell us to. So we will be, Election Day, I want to repeat, is a day of instruction, but the students are home, and the teachers will be teaching virtually to everyone. So stay tuned. You will be getting more information next week. At this point, I'd like to resume my favorite part of the report, where we used to recognize people. I already mentioned the technology department. And look, we know we still have part of the mountain to climb, but the fact that we are pushing the devices out, getting them into the hands of those who need them, our teachers and our students, the quicker we get them there, the quicker they will be able to do some amazing things. But it's going to take a little bit of time. I went somewhere today that I hadn't been in a long time. Last year, during the pandemic, we were providing, at the height of the pandemic, we were providing 1,000 meals a day to the community, servicing 500 families with breakfast and lunch. And I was fortunate enough to have a little route myself. And the food service ladies, we're going to bring them to the next, when we finally can have a real board meeting where we can pack the house, particularly Carol and Kathy, but all the ladies over there. Used to see them every morning at 5:30. They had a cup of coffee for me. But for some reason, I hadn't gone to visit them in a while since the pandemic, and I don't know what it was. I walked in today, and you know, when you don't call your parents or you don't call your grandparents, and you've waited too long, and they still welcome you with open arms and unconditional love. You know, it was very invigorating to see these ladies who, when everybody was locked away at home, literally, would be here at 5, unlock that door at 5:30 in the morning and start making, and what they did was they didn't want to just make cheese sandwiches. And I know what a struggle it is, because my wife tells me, like, when you have to figure out what to make for dinner because you don't want to make the same thing over and over again. Not that I make it, but these people were true heroes during the pandemic, and we can't, I told them tonight, I said, make sure you tune in because we're going to give you a shout out. And that's the kind of spirit we need to remind ourselves of. You know, I heard a great thing the other day. Somebody said, this is the first time in the history of humankind where the pessimists and the optimists actually agree. Because the pessimist wakes up and says, this is going to be the best day we ever had. And the pessimists say, you know, you're right. And think about this. This pandemic has put us in a terrible place. We've had to make some tough choices. But I will tell you right now, we are not going to waver. We're going to continue to push forward with the spirit of those ladies who tried to make a different meal every day for people who really needed it. We're going to provide the best education we possibly can, knowing we're not perfect. We are going to ask some people to make some sacrifices, and they may have to change classes, but we're going to do it with dignity, we're going to do it with love, and we're going to do it with support. We're going to carefully bring our kids back. And like I said, we will provide a window of opportunity for those of you that want to choose the virtual. But I think stumbling in this half-in, half-out world isn't getting us where we need to be. So I thank you for your time. I thank you for your support. I certainly thank you for all your advice. And we do have a list of questions that we'll be answering at the end of the program, but I think we've answered a lot of them, but we will make sure we read every one of them and answer every one of them before we go home. So I will turn the meeting back over to the president. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dolan. We have public comment for agenda items only at this point. Do we have any public comment from our audience? It's nice to see people in the audience. We're in the auditorium tonight in the hopes that sometime in the near future, our students will be able to live stream something from this. So we're kind of testing the capacity. And as you can see, you know, it's a little glitchy, but we're doing it. So thank you for your patience. Okay, there's no comments on agenda items. I have a consent agenda of 9.1 to 9.12. Would anybody like any items removed from consent?
I have a question on the special education part of this.
So that is the 9.13, right? 9.7, 9.8, okay. Okay, any other items to be removed from consent? No? Okay, so then we're going to approve items 9.1 to 9.6, and then 9.9, 10, 9, 11, and 9, 12. So we'll take out 9, 7, 9, 8, and 9, 9. Those are all special ed related. 9, 9. So the consent is approved? Oh, I skipped certified and non-certified. Okay, we'll go back to that after this. Special education, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the contract with Cleary School for the Deaf for special education services that will be provided to one of our students attending their school during the 2021 school year. The cost of these services is estimated to be $71,060.40 for the school year and will be paid from the general fund. You had a motion?
Motion.
Discussion?
I just have a question on these here. Are these all special ed teachers that are teaching in St. Mary's, or will they get their own?
This particular student is a resident of the district that's attending the Cleary School.
The St. Mary's is the 9.9. Is that what you're asking? Yes. Okay, so,
This is the Cleary.
so when we get to 9.9, that's okay. All in favor?
Aye.
9.8, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approve the contract with South Huntington Union Free School District for special education services provided to two of our students parentally placed in St. Anthony's, located within their district for the 2021 school year. The cost will be determined at the end of the school year and will be paid from the general fund. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Discussion?
Again, these are children, the parents chose St. Anthony's over us, right? Am I correct on this now?
The parents of our resident students in this case have chosen to send their kids to St. Anthony's. Those students require special education services, which the local school district supplies, and then we pay for those services to the local school district.
Now, we couldn't provide that service, or they didn't want our service?
They're parentally placed, so they made the decision to send their students to St. Anthony's.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All in favor?
Aye.
9.9, be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the contract with the attached list of school district for special education services we will be providing to their students that are parentally placed in St. Mary's St. Mary's School located in our district for the 2021 school year. Once the services needed for each student are determined, an invoice will be sent to each district. Attached is a sample contract. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, it says background, it says $100,000. Is this what we get back from the schools that put their kids into St. Mary's, number one question? And number two, are there our teachers there or parochial teachers? I don't understand.
Your first question, yes, that's correct. These are the funds paid to us from other school districts for those students that are going to St. Mary's that reside in their districts. And it's a combination of services provided by both St. Mary's and our school district, depending on the service that the students require.
It's not our teachers.
It's a combination,
Combination.
depending on the...
Combination, St. Mary's and ours.
Yeah. Do we have some consultants that are working in St. Mary's that are on behalf of our district as well, or is it?
I can't
individuals.
say for sure right now. I'd have to get back to whether consultants are providing services.
No? Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I apologize, I did skip, before we did consent agenda, I skipped certified. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the resignations, terminations, leave of absence, position abolitions, employment appointments, tenure appointments, and salary changes in accordance with the applicable provision of education law and civil service law as cited in the certified personnel attachment. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Non-certified, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the resignations, terminations, leave of absence, position abolition, employment appointments, tenure appointments, and salary changes in accordance with applicable provisions of education law and civil service law as cited in the non-certified personnel attachment. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Dolan, did you want to recognize?
Actually, I want to recognize, but there are a couple of things in here that I think there was a tremendous amount, well, not a tremendous, but I got a number of questions about the yearbook. We, just because another district decided to cancel theirs doesn't mean we're canceling ours. I would really like to applaud the folks on this list. If you look, yearbook, intramurals, school musical, French club. People are finding ways to have virtual experiences for the kids and clubs for the kids. We have approved a large number of coaches tonight. They've also begun some off-season training. Very proud of the fact that they're being sensible, they're being careful, and, we are trying to find these normal things for our kids in this sort of crazy virtual world. But I, for one, believe that we will find a way to engage our kids in these good, healthy activities. And to everyone who was worried about the yearbook, I never was. And like I said, just because the neighbors do it doesn't mean we're going to follow them. We will have a yearbook. And I believe we'll have some wonderful events for our kids this year. But I stress, in a safe, careful way like we did last year. And then this one I'm real proud of. He's been with us for over 20 years. Anthony Gagliano. Anthony, where'd you go? Anthony, you in the back? Anthony has successfully completed his probationary period. He's going to be running our facilities department. He's going to work very closely with Mr. Harrison, Dr. Bells, and Mr. Manzo. But Anthony has, he's a lifelong resident of the district. And, Anthony, the fun has only begun. Just because we have now that we have a lot of nice new stuff, no pressure, but we expect you to have a great maintenance plan so this place looks good for years to come. And I'll come back and visit when I'm down in Momentum. They'll bring me back up to see it, and I want it to look just as pretty as it does now, okay? So, Anthony, congratulations, and you've earned it. Thanks, Jess.
Thank you. Moving on, 9.13, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby approves the recommendation of the Committee on Special Education and the Committee on Preschool Special Education. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Donation. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education accepts a donation of 50 face shields from Third Kind Studios in Brooklyn for use at the high school. These face shields will be available to anyone who would like to use them. Can I get a motion? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you to Third Kind Studios. That was very generous of them. I'm sure they'll get used well, and they'll be appreciated. Appropriation changes. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the attached list of appropriation changes. Get a motion?
Second.
Discussion?
The large appropriation change on the agenda tonight is to fund the 6 teachers that were hired to teach virtually. Due to our strong financial position, we're able to borrow for our TAN, or tax anticipation note. The rate was very favorable, so there was a lower than budgeted expense in that category, so that provided the funds to pay for the teachers that were hired recently. In addition, there are 3 smaller budget transfers to fund purchases that were unbudgeted at the beginning of the year and due to COVID. Those changes are also on the agenda. And finally, there was a appropriation change to pay for services that we received through BOCES that we may have gone to the vendor directly in the past, but we're able to go through BOCES to that same vendor and get state aid. So we're moving the money from the code that it was budgeted to the BOCES code. And again, we'll be getting state aid on that particular purchase.
Okay.
Yes, that's a program that the athletic department is asked to purchase this year. It was not part of the original budget, but it's a communication device that they felt would be useful in the athletic world.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Old business. We just have a few housekeeping items. Mr. Nicoli is not here for the meeting. He did complete his board-mandated training in October, so we just want that noted in the minutes. Personally, I'm very happy to hear the high school and middle school, we're formulating a plan for their full return. And just on behalf of our board, we understand that it's been a prolonged discussion, but we actually want time to think about our mascot. And we're looking at both thoughts. So a community member made a terrific suggestion recently. They said that especially since they have children in the middle school and lower high school levels, these children will be affected by the change, and they would like to have a voice. We're considering, well, we're not considering, we've decided that the board would like to have more community input in addition to the many emails that we've had, so we can continue to discuss it. But along with the community input, we're asking the district to start planning for an educational program regarding Native Americans, and with that, to allow the children who would like to write to the board on their feelings and how they view the mascot, so that we can continue to incorporate our entire community in this decision. If any board members would like to add to that sentiment?
No.
Not at this time? Okay. Any other old business?
I have a question on old business. At the middle school, we had those students that weren't passing the exam. We had to go upstate New York to get a new program started. Has that been started? Have the kids in the middle school starting to pick up where they weren't capable of picking up?
Committees were met over the spring over Zoom, and they set up a plan, and they are working on AIS services to provide these students.
They're still working on a plan.
Yes. The state gave a lot of more time for us to plan and submit something to the board by December of 2020.
All right, thank you very much.
Where are we at with the computers?
Sorry, was that you, Chris?
That was me.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure. We started to say before, we're in the process of now distributing them. I thanked Rich Z earlier, Rich Zeisowitz, and our technology director. He actually put out a call for volunteers. We've been his department was imaging them, packing them up. The problem that we're experiencing right now is the delivery of the kindergarten and the fifth grade Chromebooks. But I mentioned that Steve, Paul, and Lisa are looking into possible alternative sources for those. Off the top of my head, they're not all out yet, right, guys? But they're almost. Do you know how many, Paul?
I think they've given them to grade 6 and 7. We're still working on putting them together for grade 8. Actually, I take that back. I think the high school has been distributed. We're at the high school level now.
Yeah, yep. So we should be done, hopefully, by the end of next week. Everybody should have one, and we'll be ready for Election Day.
Thank you.
Any other old business?
I just have three quick questions. Number one is, if we could get a number, obviously not right away, but as soon as we can, concerning how many lunches that we're delivering in the parking lot as compared to what we did in the spring. And is there a way to compare attendance? I guess this would be Paul, I guess. To compare attendance from last September and October to this September and October?
I will work on it. I'll get it to-
And the other question I had, is there a way to compare, I'm not sure how we do it, but the amount of kids who are failing one or more compared to last year at the same time? Is there a way to do that or no?
We can look at current grades in place, assuming that all the grades are in timely, but if not, the quarter should be over in a few weeks.
All right.
We'll get better and more accurate information.
Yeah, just by the next board meeting. And that was three questions. I got two comments. First, I'd like to thank the coaches. I think there's been nothing but positive from the community, and my son's out of the house, thank God. And I'm glad we are moving in the direction we're moving. That's it.
Any other old business?
Okay. No, after you, sir.
Just one thing. I haven't spoke about it for this year yet because of all the stuff that's going on. Has our homeless population increased so far this year?
It actually went down, but we are seeing a slow increase.
Is it a true fact that we have 2 kids from Wine Dance and 1 kid from Central Islip that was removed from the school because they did not belong here?
Any students who we are notified of that does not belong in the district, we are doing our investigations and we are removing them if appropriate, yes.
Mr. Montori, please refrain from any specifics, just because of the McKinney-Vento. Yeah, I think I know, but even that, let's try not to give any
Kids from
indication.
outside the district.
Outside the district, yeah, let's be a little more sensitive. Thank you.
Mr. Harrison, last month you gave us an update as far as state payments that were being made that were reduced due to the financial condition the state is in. Have we had any other reductions since the last meeting, that checks that we've gotten that were less than what we anticipated?
Any state aid payments left over from the 1920 school year have seen a reduction of 20%. The payments so far for this school year have been paid at the full amount. However, it appears that the trend that we're seeing right now is similar to a trend seen a decade or so ago, where there were mid-year cuts. And primarily, the payments that we receive in September, October, and November in state aid are used to pay off our TRS pension expense. So it's unlikely that would see cuts to those payments because it's going back to the pension fund. However, everything we're being told is that it's shaping up to be very similar to prior history where there were mid-year cuts.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other old business? Okay, new business, if I may start. It was just brought to my attention this week. I guess everyone was starting to think about it because at the secondary level, we were able to set up parent-teacher conferences. And I understand the limitations every year. Some teachers have more demand than others, but I found Parent Square very easy to navigate. So my question is, as a follow-on to the Parent Square, there seems to be only extra help during the school day for certain subjects or certain teachers. Is it now the policy to only offer extra help during their free time? Or are we still doing before and after extra help?
Jessica, we've actually resumed extra help as we have in the past. So if the teachers are comfortable doing it before school or after school, they've gone ahead and are scheduling in that manner.
Okay, is that only virtually?
No, they're doing that
It's
in person as
in-person?
well. Correct.
Can you make sure you push that reminder out? Because I was informed by 2 parents today that it was only during the school day, and it's only virtually. So that needs to be communicated to the entire staff.
I will discuss with the building principals.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other new business? No? Okay, so we're going to move on. Marie, do we have anybody signed up for questions? We have 3. Do you want to do the questions from emails, or do you want to do the question from the audience first, John? What do you think?
Oh, whatever's easiest. But I
Okay, well,
think
since
people
you
are-
all took time out of your evening to come on up, we'll do the in-person first. So, Marie, if you can announce. Yes. If you can come up to the microphone here, it's set up. Stephen, is that on, that microphone? Yes? Okay.
I saw on an email that you were going to have something about the mascot. Or it was a statement, not a question. I don't know if that's appropriate. I don't know how that works.
About the mascot?
Right.
We are considering,
Can I read a statement or?
yes,
or-
absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Oh, I thought it was just for, okay. Thank you. I wrote it.
Is his microphone on? Actually, It's on, just talk, maybe
Check
get a little
one,
bit closer to the microphone.
Hello?
Yes, that's better, thank you.
I watched my name is Frank Dima, and I watched the board meeting from September 24th on YouTube and heard folks who were against any change to the mascot using words such as honor, reverence, respect to describe their reviews of Native Americans, also known as Indians, as well as to describe their desire to keep the mascot, the Indian, as our mascot. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in 2020, using the term red men in association with Native Americans is not perfectly acceptable, as many have argued in the past. To honor, respect, or show reverence to the Native Americans of this land and this country, while at the same time referring to them as red men, is at best irreverent and at worst ignorant and absurd. Is it racist? Well, that's something each person will have to figure out for themselves. But if we have to even question it, shouldn't we, as a community and school system, at least err on the side of perhaps it is, even maybe just a little? Every morning when kids go to school, they see it's okay to use outdated racial monikers and innuendo as everyday parlance when referring to Native Americans. We teach by example, and as parents and adults, what example are we showing our children? My child is in 6th grade, and she is fully aware of the intolerance and nastiness that too often pollutes our society in both words and deeds. And for a school to have an Indian as a mascot tied to the name Redmond, I think most objective observers could at least agree that it sends the wrong message to a child and young adult, especially when appearing on a school in the year 2020. I am sure there are many in this community who will call me a politically correct liberal, but it isn't being politically correct nor liberal. It is about teaching tolerance and dignity in a place of learning. Mr. Dolan, when you made a pitch for a bond issue last year, part of that pitch was your belief that a quality school system is a top calling card for attractive home valuation and a sense of community, fostering a place where people want to live and raise their family. As part of that, you mentioned all the great things that a bond issue would do for the infrastructure of a school, and I and most others agreed with you, and I'm proud to see all the work being done. But in many eyes, including mine, that is all undermined when we use an Indian as a mascot for the Redmen. Every time I drop my daughter Francesca off at middle school, I have to witness the contradiction of 21st century education melded with the unconscionable indifference towards Native Americans. And that is unacceptable to me. And by the way, many schools laugh and mock us at that indifference. We are a joke to many quarters due to our name being attached to an Indian. I'm almost done. I'm not requesting a name change. I have no issue with Redmen, just like I had no issue with the Syracuse Orangemen or the St. John's Redmen. Our uniforms are red, and almost everyone gets that, so the name is fine. However, I do take serious issue with the Indian associated with the name, because there's absolutely no need nor reason in 2020 for it to be there. And because this becomes some embarrassing, before this becomes some embarrassing and unseemly social media free-for-all, I implore the board to seriously consider the removal of the Indian head. And just as a last note, you mentioned you're going to be asking kids about it. If you ask kids if they want to go to school, they'll say no. So I think to be the adults in the room, as board members, you should make the decision, the right decision, and replace the mascot with something a little bit more appropriate for the times we live in. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Marie, do we have another?
Mr. Dima? Yes. Could you send us that statement? Sure. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm here tonight because I'm at a loss. I'm frustrated, concerned for my daughters, for my daughter's education and my community. I have a daughter in third grade.
If I could just ask you to refrain from any specifics regarding your child, we'd just like to keep,
I'm
okay.
gonna
No,
be
I just want, yep, I just want to caution you.
I have a
Thank
daughter in
you.
third grade, and I'm thrilled that as of November 9th, they will be going full-time. However, I received an email asking for parents to volunteer their child to switch to a different teacher. This is not the Hunger Games where we can sacrifice our children's well-being and their education. Our children have been through enough, and I understand that we cannot have 25-plus students in a class. However, that is your fault, that you put that many students in the class. You should have listened to all the parents during the summer, and I hate to rehash everything. However, you could have done things so differently. I attended numerous board meetings, and I have asked who is part of your plan for the reopening of school. I truly believe you did not ask anyone their opinions. I know all teachers and administrators would say switching your class would be detrimental. These aren't schedules, these are classrooms. You have not taken anyone's emotions into account, and I'm sharing my ideas because my children need my voice. I've seen you promise things and go back on your word, and I truly hope November 9th is really going to happen. What is going to happen in January when the virtual students are allowed to re-enter the building? Will my daughter be put back into a lotto for class switch again? Will you need to amend that new class again? You seem to make rash decisions which are affecting my community and my children. My other daughter is a 9th grader in high school. I'm so disappointed that my daughter is part of this district. She will be applying for colleges within 3 to 4 years and will be going head-to-head with students that have more rigor in their education. They're receiving more live streaming than East Islip students. My daughter wants to learn more, and she needs to learn more. I leave my house and I attend a school where we are hybrid teaching. We are live teaching. Why is it okay for teachers to go on for 10 minutes and say, okay, now go do your work? This is inappropriate. Part of learning is the discussions that students and teachers have. There is no accountability for our high school and middle school students. Back in August, your model was to have teachers live streaming, and now that has not happened. Will these new virtual Mondays be virtual, or are they office hours? Now, I want to leave you. I want you to imagine this. It's East Islip's homecoming game, and we are on our beautiful fields, and our varsity team shows up pumped and ready to win. However, our varsity East Islip football team shows up. We have no quarterback and no uniforms. We expect the kids to win the game. Now, think of our high school students at the end of the year. Go Passive Regents. Our community needs more, and our children deserve more. The way you are treating our children and our community and teachers is not showing East Islip pride. I did cut out stuff because I was going to.
Thank you. Maria, the next.
I'm going to take my mask off because I'm back here. Hopefully, we're socially distant. First off, I want to thank you all. I haven't showed up for the last 4 meetings because I had parent-teacher conference at my school.
Well, Matt, your time's up.
So I couldn't show up. I'm actually very excited about the way you guys open school. Thank you for that. I want to thank you for what you've done. I want to thank you for not actually, and I don't want to argue with anyone in this room, but having my daughter stare at a screen for 6 hours at a day when she's home. As a teacher who's gone live, I find the need that after I've done my intro, my lesson, my direct instruction, thank you guys for putting up with me 2 meetings ago and my emotions. I think I apologize to other people, but my emotions are my emotions. They are because I believe in my daughters. And my daughters are what I teach. And I teach my students, and I tell my students that I teach you the way I would want to teach my daughters. Parent Square, I love it. I wanted us to stick with Remind last year. Just what I would think is be careful how many things are coming out. It's like crying wolf. I get a million things a day at Parent Square. Grades, stick with your plans, please. If we have a lot of kids failing in the first multi-grade, please don't wave that magic wand and say, well, this is because it's a pandemic and change what's going on. Last thing is just a question about the Chromebooks, because originally we were told we were having Chromebooks for the elementary and computers for secondary. Chromebooks are fine. So my daughter in 10th grade came home with a Chromebook. I'm happy with it. That's fine. Did we change what was going on? Because we were told 2 meetings ago it was elementary was Chromebooks, secondary was computers. Did that change?
No, Pat, it didn't change, and like I said, I'd asked you, and thank you, you sent me a picture. We'll have an answer for you in the morning, because I'm not...
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Once again, my daughter in 10th grade does not need a computer. I personally, working with Chromebooks for 6 years with Google, that's all they need. And I know the difference, the cost structure between the two. Chromebooks to me would be the better option. So I was just trying to clarify stuff about that. Once again, guys, I think you're doing an amazing job in this horrible situation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you all three that spoke to the board. We appreciate your comments. We also had some board questions through email for those watching online. So Mr. Dolan, if you can handle, or the cabinet can handle. Beth King, contract for devices. Contract states devices need to be in lockers or with students at all times, and if stolen or lost, parents are fully responsible. So if you could speak to that.
Yes, as we said earlier, now that we are on our way back, we did know this back in September, we said no lockers, but as the colder months come, here's part of the irony of the situation. We could leave all the windows open, tell the kids to wear their winter coats in class, and then our whole energy performance contract would literally go out the window, all the savings. So that's going to be one of the reasons that, we're not announcing the exact plan yet, is because this is one of the things we're working out, and that contract obviously will have to be amended. So we will take care of that. And lockers are going to be part of the, we're going to have to readdress lockers in our reentry plan.
Thank you. Mondays in secondary school, clarify expectations, sign in during homeroom, attendance taken, either all teachers are doing it or not.
And just to clarify, and this is a statement that covers most districts on Long Island. Due to the stage 1 reopening of COVID, and I stress stage 1, districts move slowly in the interest of health, safety, strictly adhering to governor's social distance requirements. As more people migrate back to either all virtual or all in, this Monday allows some leeway time for the teachers. And I did say in my statement today, for the foreseeable future, because we needed the board to finalize their thoughts and their direction and where we were going to head. So, look, there are a number of challenges, attendance being one of them. I'm going to say this, we are going to get through the next few Mondays and then be back fully in school by the beginning of December.
Okay.
Okay.
She also asked about the yoga classes on Monday that was offered to the staff, and can it be extended to the students?
Well, one of the things that, the simple answer is, yes, it can be extended. We are, when we go back full-time, going to have to make modifications in, gym class. And this is not, this has been done my entire career. The yoga classes, can be offered before school, after school, or actually during the day, and teachers that have a prep period or a lunch period can avail themselves of it. And so the yoga was not everybody. I had people call up and say, I can't do yoga because I'm, teaching or doing my Google Meets at that time. And I said, well, sorry about that. Hopefully next year you'll be able to. But when we do move to more students in the building, gym class is going to become different when we can't go outside for social distance reasons. And I've always, schools have always taught social emotional learning. Teachers helping kids, and I'm not, everybody, teachers, the teachers' aides, everything from the cafeteria ladies to the security guards are there to support the children. So we will look for mindfulness exercises, yoga-type activities in the phys ed classes, things that will, anything we can to support the children. One of the questions down the line, what are we doing for social emotional learning? Honestly, all our people are watching very closely to see which children need and are, displaying signs that they need more support during these tough times. So, I apologize for any misunderstanding. This yoga did not take people away from their professional work. It was offered to people who had free time.
November, what is the plan for secondary students?
I think that was answered. I mean, we're going to, you will receive, by the end of next week, our plan for reentry, which is going to be a staggered plan, but we have to finalize the details.
Thank you. The next community member is Danielle Pratt. She asked about buses. How are buses being handled for the K-5 kids once they return full-time?
Students are going to ride the buses. They're going to be required to wear masks, and we will do the best we can. And I do applaud our bus drivers. They are sanitizing and wiping them down. Suffolk Transportation has been very supportive. But that's a question that's been asked over and over again. How do you social distance on a bus? A bus is a bus. Wear your mask, and it has to stay on. And, we are going, the buses will, we will see more students riding the bus, and we will do the best we can to load from the back to the front and keep them apart.
Thank you. Next community member is Susie Sambo. Mask breaks. Is there a policy being put in place? Should one be for kids to stay safe? Should uniform for all grades? How long are mask breaks? How many times a day will a break be scheduled?
I addressed this earlier, and we continue to look, for some sort of uniform statement that we can make, but given the diversity of activities, the diversity of the lessons, again, and having been in and out of the schools, I do trust the adults, and every child is different. And, I'd like to think if a child needs a break, that we are going to do everything we can to accommodate them. The policy is the mask breaks are at the discretion of the adult in the room. And like anything else, if there is an issue, you can certainly reach out to, the building administrator, the teacher, the building administration, and let's try to work through this. And I do want to say this, I applaud the students who are really doing, I think, an excellent job and doing their very best to wear their masks. And I've had the opportunity to speak to a number of them. And so, again, the policy is the adult in the room regulates the mask breaks to make sure that they're as safe as possible.
Thank you. Next community member is Christine.
Wait, we forgot the band and
Oh, sorry,
orchestra.
about fifth grade. Susie Sambo also asked about fifth grade orchestra. Is there a plan when we return full-time?
And take a look around this room. It's odd to see, and the audience can't see it, but we have music stands spaced out. We don't have rooms this size in all the elementary schools to adhere to the guidelines. But I will say this, I give Dr. Wadawa and our music teachers, I applaud them because they are working on, ways for the band and orchestra to get some sort of experience. You know, I go back, we're talking about the arts. We approved a middle school play today. I think it's going to take a lot of creativity, and it's going to take some creativity. Will the band and orchestra look like it did last year in 5th grade? No. But will we have it? I'm confident they're going to come up with something, some sort of experience for our children.
Thank you. The next community member is Christine Capolino, rotating schedule. Many districts, while not being back full-time, are working on a rotating schedule. So the kids are at least getting 3 days some weeks. Have any thoughts been given to this?
A lot of thought has been given to it, and as you heard tonight, we've come to the conclusion that we're going to move back to being a district where you'll either be in or you'll be virtual. We're going to move away from the hybrid, so this third day of the week is going to become a moot point in about 5 weeks, 6 weeks.
Thank you. The next community member, Tiffany Haas, choice to go virtual. Are children able to go fully virtual if their parent is not comfortable with full-time in person? If a child cannot attend school due to being exposed, having a school household member exposed, will they attend a virtual class while not permitted in school? And if a child has an underlying respiratory issue, what will be done? Should they be advised by their healthcare professional to remain home during that time?
All right, let's go one at a time here. The first question, we are going to open, a window and say to people now that we are moving in the direction of being fully back, we were going to give people a chance to move to virtual. The second question, if a child is exposed, and again, it's going to depend on the length of time, but they will be handled as if, as we did in the past when a child was homesick for 2 weeks. They're not going to be able to move into a virtual class, but the work will be sent home at the elementary level, and at the secondary level, they can log in to the live stream. Again, same will hold true here for the third. If a child has an underlying condition, certainly you get to the doctor, your doctor will speak to our doctor, and together we will come up with the best plan possible. There's not a virtual live stream at the elementary, so we may have to treat them as we've treated students who have in the past either had issues like this or broke a leg. If they're going to be home for a month, we send work home, and at the secondary level, you can log into the live stream.
Okay, she also asked buses. What will the bus routine look like? Will they be clean, sanitized between each pickup and drop-off?
Again, I think we just addressed that. The Suffolk Transportation has some excellent protocols, cleaning, sanitizing in between, and again, load from the back to the front and keep children as spaced out as possible. We do have a large number of parents who are driving their children to school, but when they're on the bus, we will distance them as best that we can.
If I can, Jess, we've got a lot of bus questions. Steve, you're familiar with the buses. I think there's like 10 kids on my kid's bus. Is that common? Is that most of the buses what's going on? That most of them are almost empty, that parents are driving their kids, or that's not common?
Yeah, I would say that's the norm for this time of going through the pandemic here. Ridership is about 50% of what we're planning on. So bringing both cohorts together, while we're planning for more students, the likelihood of being as packed as they might be expected is probably remote.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Jim, I'm sorry, we're going to get through these questions. If you'd like to stay afterwards, we're happy to answer other questions, okay? Yep, we'll talk to you after if you want to stay. Jim, what will gym look like at the elementary level with kids returning full-time and cold weather approaching, limiting outdoor sessions?
Again, we're going to do our best to get the kids outside as much as possible. The fresh air seems to be the best thing, but that rolls back to an earlier question where there are activities, some mindfulness, yoga-type activities, some in-place activities. Gym will be a challenge. It's not going to be the normal running around and sweating, but there are a number of things that we will be able to do with the kids. And again, by taking the approach that we did, now that the class sizes are between 18 and 21, we don't believe we're going to have classes set up in the gym, so we will have some space for the students to go in there. And again, I have the confidence in our gym, our physical education teachers will provide, alternative activities which will, things like yoga, mindfulness exercises, or, socially distanced safe games.
Okay, the next topic was mask breaks. How often will children receive mask breaks? Will students be permitted to take down their mask when seated behind the barriers?
Again, I keep coming back to, it'll be at the direction and discretion of the adult in the room, because there are just so many variables here. The easy answer is when you're behind the barrier, yes, you can take it down, but what if the kids are involved in an activity where maybe they are moving around somewhat in the classroom? So again, the adult in the room, whether it's cafeteria, classroom, out at recess, the adult supervisor, they have been, I think they've been good about being sensitive to the students' needs. And we all know mistakes can happen. The child might come home and say, I didn't want to take a mask break. That's why it's so important to talk to the teacher, talk to the adult, talk to the administrator, because if the teacher missed a question, or maybe the student didn't, say it, or maybe the adult didn't hear it, I have yet to hear of a person that is denying students the right to take mask breaks. And I think that, again, the adult in the room is in control and has to make sure that they're done in a safe fashion.
Okay, the last topic from Tiffany Haas is mental health. What's the district doing in school for students to address mental health?
Dr. O'Rourke had sent out a survey, is going to be sending out another survey, and our mental health professionals, our psychologists, social workers, guidance counselors, our PPS teams are doing what we do every year. We're doing everything we can, they're doing everything they can to identify students at risk, students that may need a little extra something, a little extra support. We do know this is a challenge, and again, we are seeing, mindfulness exercises and things like that, and I continue to say, we've been doing this since the beginning of time. It's just now that there's a pandemic, we do have more needs, and we're doing everything we can to support the kids. But again, like I said, please, fill out those surveys. If you feel your child is needs in need of a little extra support or is hurting, please contact the school. And like I said, our teachers and our mental health professionals are constantly on the lookout. The old example used to be the child that sits in the cafeteria by themselves, but now we have them all sitting by themselves. But, again, social emotional learning has been part of schools since the beginning of school.
Thank you. The next community member, Mary Garcelles, supplies. Is there any place to allow the children to leave some supplies at school at their desk once they start attending full-time?
Now, I know a letter went out today, and I know there'll be more communication next week. I'm drawing a little bit of a blank here, but I believe that there are going to be opportunities for kids to leave some supplies on a limited basis. But again, that information is being pushed out by the elementaries over the next several days.
Okay, the next community member, Teresa Amabel, biased scholastic assignment. 7th grade was given a biased assignment on election. How is this handled within the middle school? How is the district speaking to children about election without giving biased opinions?
This is one that, unfortunately, it comes up, and we can't speak directly about personnel matters in public like this. Suffice it to say, when a question like this arises, the building administration does a full investigation. It's always tricky, especially this year, given, first of all, the state of the world, both the added pressure of COVID and the heated nature of this election campaign. I can only speak for myself as a social studies teacher. It was always tricky trying to balance and give both sides, because honestly, you could spend one day going over the Republicans, platform, and the second day going over the Democratic platform, but I'd always have, you'd have somebody go home and say, oh, wow, we only talked about the Republicans today. And you'd get the phone call and say, why aren't you talking about the Democrats? We were made aware of an article, and it is currently being addressed at the building level. And I'm going to go out, I'm going to say very clearly and very slowly, schools need to present evenly and fairly both sides of these, and it's hard, but they need to present both sides so that the children can learn to make an informed decision. And again, once again, like everything else, if you feel for some reason that that's not being done, it needs to be brought to our attention so we can address it.
Thank you. Next community member, Christine Kelly, reading. When will Tier 2 and Tier 3 reading support begin for elementary schools, and what will it look like?
And again, this is going to, we've already begun, by the process of pushing in and assessing in these areas. It's going to look a little bit different than, last year, due to the fact that we're going to need some teachers to help cover for the new classes that are opening up. But suffice it to say, we are going to stay within New York State guidelines. And again, I would refer you to your buildings, so that you can get, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know every last detail, but these supports will be in place and will be delivered.
Okay, school closure, instruction, will we have to close, if we have to close schools again, will there be Google Meets with their teacher every school day, or would it be possible for the teacher to teach live from home?
Again, what I'm going to call is the enhanced virtual schedule will be going out, by the middle of next week, and that's what we're going to be practicing on Election Day. Suffice it to say, you will be receiving a prototype of a schedule, but it won't be the exact schedule because it'll, the special areas move in different ways. But at the secondary level, we've talked about the live streaming, and at the elementary level, it is going to be more than just a couple of Google Meets. So look for that schedule to be out by the middle of next week.
Thank you. Next community member, Lord Dita, temperature checks. Are temperature checks required for the staff?
When you look at these guidelines, the most effective temperature taking has to happen before they get on the bus, before they get in the car to come to work. It should be done at home. Our staff has to do the attestation where they have to attest to the fact that they've taken their temperature and they don't feel sick. That is not, it's kind of unwieldy when you have 3,700 kids coming into buildings. We can't possibly monitor all 3,700 in a timely fashion, and then have, kids come in, go to class, and then an hour later when we're going through the computer printouts, now try to track down a kid who's already been in the building for an hour with a fever.
Now, this was specifically for staff.
Yeah, no, the staff has to attest to the fact
They have
that
to attest every day.
they
Okay.
took their own
So
temperature.
then the DeMaios asked the one about the students. So you pretty
Okay.
much
Oh,
covered
I'm
that
sorry.
about Parent Square. Playgrounds, why aren't playgrounds open? Every student, every day.
The playgrounds are open, but what they have rotating stations at recess to just limit the number of kids and try to have social, try to promote social distancing.
Okay, deficit in education. What is the district going to do about the deficit children are experiencing academically, as the district has been extremely slow in getting kids back to school full-time. I would just say, we've been cautious. But
And
we're
again-
getting there, right, Mr. Dolan?
Again, I think we've been cautious. We've been quicker than some, slower than others, but we have to deal with the hand we're dealt here in East Islip. As I said earlier, the investment in one-to-one computer devices, and again, the computers are only a tool, but we believe, we know, and all the evidence points to the fact that districts that are one-to-one device districts, their reputations and their success rate goes up because you're engaging the students in their world and the world they're going to grow up in. So before and I just implore people, is your glass half full or is your glass half empty? You an optimist, you a pessimist? Before we say this is going to be a huge gap, what it might be is a pause for us to now catapult forward more quickly. And again, time will tell, but I have great confidence, and I've been mentioned to some people that I'm going to see every teacher in the district over the next couple of months, and I began the other day. And what I loved hearing was how our teachers kept saying, oh my God, in the spring, boy, we never expected that. But then now we're starting to feel more comfortable. We're starting to feel like we can do this. And and they were so excited to tell me what they were learning. So that bodes well for the future. But if you want to concede and say that there's definitely going to be a gap, we could just kick back and let the gap happen. So I'm not going to give in to that. I'm not going to give in to that mentality. And like I said, I was very encouraged and inspired by what I heard from the teachers I sat with the other day in terms of how excited they are about what they're learning and what they're going to be able to do, as they say, what they're going to be able to do for their kids.
Okay, the next community member, Aileen Daddario, secondary student, explaining alternating Mondays for the foreseeable future. We already covered that with the fact that we're entertaining bringing everyone else back in some fashion as soon as we can. Extra help, is the district being utilized Monday as extra help?
And she's talking about professional development. And again, Aileen, that's always been a frustration in education, to find the time and to do these kinds of extra help activities. I said it, we expected to roll out these devices over a 3 to 5 year period, which would have given us a chance to do professional development over a 3 to 5 year period. And now we instead have, like I said, the board made a huge investment, and we are going to learn this together. And again, one thing I've learned and one thing I believe is if we're patient and supportive, the teachers and students are going to learn this together, and we're going to be better off for it.
So then her final question was supporting the teachers, which you already answered. Thank you. Andrea Ross, secondary students concerned about quality of instruction. Our secondary students are or are not receiving. Teachers already know how to live stream their Tuesday through Friday. Why are we still talking about practicing at the secondary level? Kids need more time. Stop wasting Mondays. Okay, thank you.
Well, I just want to make a comment. I don't think, and again, looking at, people like to tell me all about other districts. A lot of districts are doing this. Some have the Wednesday, for whatever they call it. We have been preparing and looking for ways to get, to allow our teachers time, and also, we haven't been shy about it. We said it back in August. We wanted everybody back in, and it looks like we're going to have everybody back in by the beginning of December. That's probably too fast for some and too slow for others.
Okay, we have a few repetitive questions. Jacqueline Brienza and Diane Eckler both asked about virtual school, which I think you already covered well. Thomas Gratina, middle school reopening. Why is the middle school not opening for full-time instruction at the same time as the elementary schools?
Simply put, first and foremost, the middle school and high school present the secondary level presents different challenges. And also, now that we are live streaming, and again, it's not perfect, but I'm proud of the progress we're making. We're going to focus on the elementaries, make sure we got them up and running. And again, as you found out today, we do have a plan to get the middle school back in.
Okay, again, he asked about virtual learning. The virtual school setup is not working. The disorganization is everywhere, and the decision to keep these schedules will have a long-term negative effect on our students for years due to the horrible education that they have received for almost 8 months now. We have had ample time to figure this out. Our community demands it, and we are tired of the lack of action. Thank you for that comment.
Wait,
Miss-
I'm a little, yeah, I want to,
Yeah, it's a little, maybe we could follow up with them to see what specifically, if the child is fully virtual, or if they're just talking about the virtual hybrid
absolutely.
days? you know?
Yeah, I'll follow up because that's what I'm trying to figure out here.
Okay, Jennifer Joseph Biscula, elementary return. With months to plan for January, how will the district handle the return of remote learners in January?
And I know this is the kind of,
It's kind of like 3 openings. We had the September opening, and now we have the next opening, and then in January, we're going to have another opening. So it's all going to be a transitional.
and what I'm going to say this very carefully and very cautiously. We would like to see our kids return. Then they're going to return to where the classes are open. And the board has made a commitment to these virtual teachers to have them here. But the problem is, not everyone, as you're going to see when we open the window, not everyone is comfortable being full in. And it is going to be a changing situation. What I will say to you is, and we've already proven this even with the return that we're having, by being able to fit a few more students in the class, we're doing everything we can not to have to change kids if we don't have to. Unfortunately, given the fluid nature of this, we may have to. I know that doesn't make you happy, but that's the absolute honest answer.
Okay, next community member, Nikki Giorgetti. Letter to parents. Is the letter that's going out next week only going to parents whose children have been reassigned?
Yeah, I mean, there will be a specific letter to those parents, yes.
Okay. Maximum number of students per class?
Right
18
now at
to
the
20?
elementary, we're looking at 18 to 21, and we are working on the secondary number, and we will have that next week.
Okay, and the bus pickup and drop-off time will remain the same.
Yep.
Kevin, he just goes by his first name, returned to full-time. In early September, we were told, Mr. Dolan, that we did not have the room nor the teachers, and that is why we cannot go full-time. What has changed in the past 6 weeks that we now have the room and teachers? Who are the new teachers? Where are they teaching? Why wasn't this addressed before the school year? How can you ask parents to volunteer their kids to go into an unknown location with an unknown teacher?
We are going to work a little, I'll work backwards on that one. And one of the things I did say, at the beginning of the year, I did get a good, healthy number of calls from people that wanted to create what they are calling educational pods. I've had these conversations with several parents now, where parents wanted to have their child in a cohort with their, friends and neighbors, so that they could work in groups, they could, kind of collaborate. And honestly, now you have the opportunity to do that. If you have 4 or 5 folks and you want to move together in case we go out full-time, this would be an opportunity to do that because you would all be in the same class.
And we did have a few community members express that they wanted to, just because they were in separate cohorts, that they wanted their kids to be in the same class together, so that way they could support each other on the virtual days or if they went out. So we're trying to address different needs. Okay, next
So-
community, you want to keep going?
Oh, no, I got to get to some stuff up at the top that I think is important. 'cause,
Okay.
We did, And we had to go through the process of identifying teachers on staff, teachers who we have on what we call a special assignment, who are going to re-enter the classroom. Now those teachers have been told, and word will be out who they are. Again, all of this was addressed. All of this was addressed in the summer. All of this was addressed before we came back. There have been, shifts. The number of students we can put in a classroom, and we've honestly seen other districts doing it. We were working off a number of 12 to 14. That number is now 18 to 21. We have the virtual classes. We had kids go virtual, which has freed up space and freed up room. So I'm going to say that a lot has changed in 6 weeks. And I want to clarify something. We did say that we had the room 6 weeks ago, but you would have had classes of 12 set up in your cafeteria, your gymnasiums, and it would not have been, and at least in my personal opinion, it would not have been school. It would have been kids sitting at their desk for long periods of time. Again, very, very tough decisions. I understand, and I can sense the frustration. But again, you're going to have elementary schools that actually function as close to what an elementary school should function and look like as possible. And 6 weeks ago, that would not have been possible.
Okay, next community member, Carrie Bannon, option return to school mandatory. Will we have the same opportunity to either continue to allow our children to attend their current school 2 days a week or go full-time? The other option, I was wondering if it's strictly full-time, do we have the option either full-time or virtual, being the students are already attending virtually? We were offered option in the beginning. I believe we should still be offered that option.
Look, we're gonna do our best to
Are we going to ask parents that opt full virtual now to opt full virtual through the end of the year? Or are we going to give them that January exit point?
we're gonna finalize that over the next day or two.
Okay.
My gut is telling me, and my gut, we also have to get confirmation from legal on that as to what exactly we can or can't do. But we're really gonna have to limit the in and out, because part of giving people a choice of in and out then causes on the other end kids to get bumped in and out. So, but there will be a small window. We will have once we get confirmation from legal, we'll say to you, you're either signing in till the end of January or till the end of the year. I don't think we can do it over, there's not going to be months and things like that we can deal with.
Okay, Alba Walsh had the same question about, will it be mandatory for all students to go back to school in person? Will virtual learning no longer be available, with the exception of a COVID situation? I think you answered that, right?
Yeah.
Chromebooks, the next community member, Lauren Palagi. Chromebooks, grade 5. What is the status of those devices? Is that next week?
Again, we engaged with the vendor, and now, as I said, the folks to my left, you're right, are working. It's a supply chain issue, and it's just simply a supply chain issue. And some of my colleagues in other school districts are still waiting. 11 out of 13 is not perfect, but it's a very good start. We have 11 grades out of 13, and we're going to do everything we can to get those 5th grade and kindergarten ones in.
Okay, and Christine Shaw had the same question. What's the holdup with the 5th grade laptops? So those are going to be Chromebooks that will arrive. Laura Carlin, seniors. What's being done, planned for the seniors, since they've already missed prom, homecoming, and now the senior banquet? Also, I guess she means junior prom. And now the senior banquet, which usually takes place in the fall. Actually, I just heard from my own daughter that they're doing the superlatives. The kids are voting starting tomorrow, so that was a nice glimmer of interest conversation this evening. Also, where are the funds that were originally deposited for prom and then moved to the senior banquet? is anything being considered?
Anything and everything is being considered. I think we have a track record here. Last spring, again, was, 35 years of doing this, I will never forget last spring because of the celebrations that we had. Safe, healthy, everybody got through them, and quite honestly, a tremendous amount of joy. The money is in the bank. The vendors, the banquet halls that we work with have really tried to help us, and they understand, and those folks are hurting. That's an industry that is really, really hurting, but they have been absolutely, top-notch and cooperative with us. And I'm going to say this again. We have senior class officers, we have senior class advisors, Mr. Bernard, Mr. Seifert, Mrs. DeVersa, Mr. Nolan. They're going to, we're just getting our legs under us. We have kids out there on the field practicing, and I'm going to go back, I'll say it for the third time. I'm very proud of the fact that we approved the play for the middle school. Not quite sure how they're going to do that, but looks like they're going to give it a shot. So when it comes to the seniors, we are going to, from district office, be as supportive as possible. We will, we encourage them to be as creative as possible. If they had tried to have the senior banquet now, it would have had a very limited number. You can't have gatherings of, I believe it's more than 50. So, the hope is we wear our masks, we get healthy, and we have a whole lot of celebrations as soon as possible. But the senior class, the class of 2020, carved out their own niche, and I think, I see those students fairly regularly, whether in town or, just bumping into them, and I hear a lot of, "Hey, Dolan, remember when we," and that's what these memories are all about. So, we will do everything we can to protect their money, make sure that they have it in the bank, and, we want a prom, we want homecoming, we want a senior banquet. It might not look like the prom, the homecoming, or the senior banquet that you had, but let's give the class officers, the class advisors, the building administration, and the students a chance to create their experiences, because Lord knows I am looking forward to going to them, and I am excited that they are going to do some wonderful things, and we have to stay within the rules, but I'd much rather wait till we can have more than 50 at the senior banquet, and I'm just hoping and praying that we have a prom or a dance, and I hope we have the parades that we had last year and all the other wonderful things.
Okay, I'd like to just thank everyone that participated tonight in the meeting. This actually gives us hope that we were able to hold this meeting in the high school auditorium and stream it to the community, have community involvement, in the hopes that perhaps we'll be having concerts and other presentations live streamed, because we do have the ability. And then I'd like to thank Stephen for his help with the technology today. I know that was a challenge with the new environment. It's not as easy as everything set up in the boardroom. We just had one more. Did you want to ask one more question? Okay. And they loop around, yeah. Okay. Thank you. Maybe we could bring that up to Suffolk Transportation and just see if there's anything that further that they can do. I know they're following every protocol with the CDC. We were assured that multiple times by Suffolk Transportation. Their staff is trained, so we'll definitely bring that up. If there's nothing further, the next Board of Education meeting, regular business meeting, will be held on Thursday, November 12th at 8 p.m. Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
No, get lost.
I just asked you if you had any more
Hey,
questions.
Motion to adjourn.
Yes, we actually, on On November 2nd, we may need to hold a special meeting, but I will I'll inform the board at that moment. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion. Meeting adjourned.